Hi, good afternoon. Welcome everybody to this meeting that we're going to have today. Um, Today we're going to talk about the operating room phase 2 preceptor program, which is essentially the people who are here are the directors from the Fayetteville Technical Community College operating room course. And I have members of the operating room here at Cape Fear Valley Medical Center. And today we're going to talk about and address the issue of the operating room students that come from the phase 1 site to the hospital. Now, the biggest problem that we have since I've been here is that there is no dedicated preceptor to welcome the students in to our program. The students will come here on Tuesdays at any given time, and there's no real direct communication between the phase 1 site, which is the community college, and the phase 2 site, which is the hospital. And what I've come to see is that once the students arrive, there is not a real dedicated preceptor to welcome them and give them the reception and integration that they need in order to be successful during their tenure here. So my proposal is that we identify a preceptor to receive the students in and guide them through their 8 weeks or 10 weeks of training. One of the biggest issues that we have on the phase 2 side is that a lot of the people, the techs, they don't want to have anything to do with them. It seems to me, it is a systemic problem because for the most part, the majority of them feel like they're not being paid or compensated to teach the students and to go above and beyond to teach them. So right off the bat, the first proposal that I'm submitting is that we identify a designated preceptor and maybe an assistant, which would be 2 people, and we approve a job requisition for them, which would give them maybe an extra $1 or $2 an hour to serve in the capacity of a preceptor here. And so with that, when you have a preceptor, then you can directly communicate with the phase 1 site. And what happens is that when the students come over, it becomes a smoother transition. So, for instance, I will volunteer to be that preceptor. And so what I would do is directly communicate with Mr. Terry Long, who's sitting over here. Welcome, Terry. And communicate directly with him and say, he would let me know, hey, Mike, on the next rotation, we got 5 students coming. And this is, what they're going to do. It doesn't matter, male, female, whatever. We got 5 students coming. So I will then, from that point, put together a training schedule. And as you all see in your handouts over here, what the training schedule would actually look like. So immediately I will put together a training schedule, which for those of you who are on the other side, just refer to this page right here. This is the training schedule that I've put together, which I will have the students' names and everything, and they will go and rotate through there. Now, this training schedule will be centrally located beside the main schedule for the permanent staff that we have here on board. So if, in any event, if there's any doubt as to where the students will go, excuse me, they can just look at the schedule, which will be posted on the wall over here. The students will have that schedule, and then when they arrive on day 1, I will receive them, and I need to have a dedicated space or classroom, if you will, to take these students in so that I can, 1, give them their initial counseling and let them know what's expected of them. Okay, so I'll put together a continuity book here of all the training that I would like to do with these students, and immediately the first thing that they would come through is that if you look at your handouts, this is page 1, they would receive an initial counseling statement, which would identify everything that they need to do for as long as they're here. We'll go over the hospital policies, the human resource policies that we have in place as far as them being a visitor. I will escort them over to HR to ensure that they do get a badge that lets them know that they are a student and allow them the accesses that they would need to stay and have access in and out of the facility. Okay, so that right there will eliminate a whole lot of problems coming in. So now we have the students who are coming here. I will receive them and take them and introduce them to all the staff members that we have and let them know who the assistant instructors that we have identified, whether it be 3 or 4 additional instructors, we will all offer them at least $1 an hour more, whatever pay is commensurate with that, which I think $1, maybe $2 an hour extra is great for them. And they will go and obtain all the necessary faculty development courses, training courses that they would need to be an effective assistant trainer. So once the students come in, now that we have them in their classroom environment and they're going over the rules and regulations. The students need to be able to identify what it is that they're going to do next. So there's a thing called a case study. So many of you know and some of you don't. The students should have to are required to do a case study before they go into the room the next day to perform surgery or to assist in surgery. So just for hypothetical reasons, if you have a student tomorrow that is going to do an ingrown toenail removal, they will know it the night before. So when they go home, they'll do a case study. Now you have on page 4, you have the case study write-up as to what exactly needs to be done. The nature of the case, the surgeons who are doing it, the etiology or the origin of the case. Why do we need to perform this? The type of anesthesia that will be used. And then they go in depth to find out what are the outcomes, how invasive is the surgery, what are the deficiencies, what are the hazards, veins, the anatomy of the body that is going to be worked on, and what are the outcomes associated with removal of a toenail. What are the hazards, the risks, infection, so on and so forth. So they do their homework the night before, and in the morning they come in now to justify once again why the preceptors are going to get a little bit extra compensation, is that they're going to have to come to work maybe 45 minutes to an hour earlier than the rest of the crew, because they have to meet with those students, because here in the civilian world, surgery starts at 7 o'clock and we have to be ready to go. So we might have to have these students come in maybe an hour, maybe come in at 6 o'clock, whereas the rest of the staff comes in at about 6:30. So it gives me time to interact with the students to go over it. There's 5 students. I have to go over each one of their case studies to make sure that they are at least in the ballpark and understand what they're going to be doing throughout the day. Now, once we get that, then the students are then released to their assistant instructors or whoever whatever room they're assigned to, and they'll begin to go in and initialize setups and things of that nature. On that end, the assistant instructors need to be patient, and first and foremost, they can't forget where they came from, because everybody at some point in time in their life, they were a student or they was a student. So for anyone to have an attitude or to say, here, I don't have time for students, no students today, I'm not feeling students today, that's the wrong answer, categorically the wrong answer, because we are a training institution, and somewhere along the line it has fallen apart here, so we need to rectify that. So with that being said, once the students get into the room, they will have, as you see in your handouts here, that they will have an evaluation sheet, one that they will give to the nurse that's in the room, and they will give evaluation sheet to the staff instructor. And that lets them know that they're going to be evaluated on each performance, and they get an evaluation for each case. If the room is assigned or has 3 or 4 cases assigned to it, then they will give them 4 sheets. And that should be filled out promptly after each case so that no one forgets, and they can identify the shortfalls, the training needs of that soldier or student. I'm retired military, so you might hear soldier come out of my mouth every once in a while. So while they're in there, the preceptor or the assistant instructor needs to really focus on making sure that it's a comfortable work environment. Everybody is a little nervous when they come in there as a student because this is a live fire drill. You're dealing with live patients on a table, and you could be doing an OBGYN case, you can be doing open hearts, or you could be doing a very large invasive abdominal type procedure, and everybody's nervous. And first and foremost, the most important thing is the safety of that patient on the table. Okay? So you have to make sure that you create that environment that is not so apprehensive to everybody in there. It's already scary enough. Okay, so once we have all of that in place, then the transition will be smooth. At the end of the day, the students and the instructors will come out and they'll meet with me. The end of the day generally is around 3 o'clock. So from 7 to 3, they're in there doing their due diligence and working extremely hard and doing what they're doing. So at the end of the day, they meet up and they fill out all their paperwork, and the students will come to me, and I'll get whatever. They'll be in the classroom. I'll meet with the instructors outside to get any immediate feedback that may be pertinent in regards to them returning the next day and subsequent days. So I'll get their paperwork, and then I'll go in and sit down and talk to the students and find out how their day went and have them download all their information to me, and then we'll go with what they told me in the morning as to what their cases were going to be and how did it actually equal up at the end of the day. Did those things happen? Did this and that? Do they understand? Now we're going to match the rhyme to the reason. All right. So at this point, I'm going to pause for a second, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so now we're back. What I wanted to introduce to you is some of the instrumentation that's crucial for the students to learn when they come into the operating room. In this day and age, our technology has been so far advanced that we use a lot of laparoscopic type instrumentation to make same-day or short-day surgical interventions less invasive. So what we don't have in place is a location or a training site for the students to learn how to do laparoscopic procedures and how to manipulate and hold the instrumentation and identify the instrumentation that is to be used in surgery. One of the biggest tricks that run through people's minds is when you're looking at laparoscopic surgery and you're using an instrument such as this, which is an EndoShear by Ethicon, or you're using a Lions Thunderbeat. They both look alike, but they all have a different purpose. But as you're inserting this inside the human body and you're looking at a TV monitor, everything is backwards. So you have to learn to approximate each portion and manipulate whatever tissue that you're either holding or cauterizing or even holding the camera so that the surgeon can actually see. Whatever your role is, depends on your role is actually dependent upon your level of proficiency in managing the instrumentation in a laparoscopic procedure. So one of the other proposals that I would like to present is that we purchase a laparoscopic trainer. Now, laparoscopic trainer is simply a device that they use that we can use these instruments and go in and manipulate and have the monitor so that the students and the staff can become more familiar with the maneuvering of the camera and the instrumentation so that the surgeon can have a greater deal of success. Because the trend now is getting to the point where the surgical techs are given more and more opportunity to serve as what we call a first assistant. Now, first assistant is like a physician assistant or an assistant surgeon, where depending on your level of expertise or years of experience, excuse me, you may be able to be exactly directly across or right beside the surgeon, assisting the surgeon in the surgical procedure, as opposed to just passing the instruments to the surgeon for use throughout the procedure. So we have a multitude of instrumentations that the students and the faculty and staff should be privy to learning how to use. And they're very expensive, and at the most part, what you don't want to end up doing is getting the surgeon upset, the staff upset, because you have an inexperienced tech up there manipulating things, and that just makes everybody's day go that much worse. And I think what a lot of you know is that the use of this is really awesome. You know, this is a stapler. So there's a time that we go inside the body, and if you wanted to staple, you know, we'll just use a piece of paper as an example, but if you wanted to go in and you needed to do something, and we just approximate or staple, you're inside the body, you're looking at the camera, and you just squeeze down, and bam, now you have a staple. I'm going to show you that part again. You just come in, lock it down, and now you have, you know, let's see if, I don't know if y'all could see the stapler or not very well. But the student needs to know how to do that, and that's all a part of being a great preceptor, a great assistant instructor, is to give those students that opportunity that you have had for years, that they've only seen for the first time in their life. Give them that opportunity to become very comfortable and confident with their procedure. Now, I've looked at the cost of this. If we were to provide each preceptor or assistant surgical assistant or assistant instructor, if we went with just $1 an hour over their base pay, and I'm looking for 5, annual cost for a $1 increase, we're looking at $2,080 per individual, which would come out to a little over 11 grand for a year. $11,000 per year for the 5 instructors that I will have. It's in addition to what their base pay is. Now, the cost of these instrumentations that I've shown you, the trainer itself is about $50,000. We could get, and that's at the high end. We can get a low end one for about $20,000, and we do have instances where the trainer itself comes with simulated laparoscopic instruments, so we're able to use that, and that's a one-shot purchase. It has a 10-year warranty on it for damage. The drug rep that I have here has shown us everything that we need to do, and of course those of you at home or at your other place of business aren't able to see it because of HIPAA, but there is some comparable videos online at YouTube. For those of you who didn't get a chance to see it, you could see it there. Just Google any laparoscopic trainer, and it'll show you that. So we're looking at essentially for initial purchase of about $40,000 is what I'm asking for, and it's pretty much a one-shot deal. I think that we can accommodate that, and the return on our investment will be a group of students and staff members will have the opportunity to become more competent and confident in doing laparoscopic procedures. The students will be able to come in right off the bat and have a little bit more understanding and knowledge and comfort in manipulating that camera, because it's very important during a live drill or live surgery that they're not so nervous so that they don't get messed up. In addition, because the hospital doesn't have a trainer, those medical students that are coming in that are actually training to become doctors and surgeons, they can be afforded the opportunity to work on the trainer as well. And we'll have, if you will allow me, a dedicated classroom for training. Okay. So at the end of the day, or in conclusion, subject to your questions, we need to identify who a dedicated preceptor will be for these students so that we can communicate with the school and have a smoother transition of the students coming from the phase 1 site to the phase 2 site, which will result in a higher increase of students participating in the surgical technology program because the positive feedback when they go out into the community and tell their family and friends that they have really good instructors and that the hospital really cares for them and they focus on training will be optimum. Having the faculty and staff being compensated for their extra time of doing the training will be beneficial because that will lessen the workload or at least the attitude that they will have in training. The cost in itself, the training is immeasurable. The return on investment we'll see in over a 6 to 8 week period of time, the results will be tantamount to perfection. Okay, so subject to your questions, I will close for now, and we will do a follow-up meeting with everybody in 2 weeks. All right, so any questions? All right, thank you for your time.